All right, welcome back to another episode of The Immigrant Gun Owner. My name is Matthias. I'm the German with a gun. Um, it's been a minute. I missed my update last week, so we're a week behind, unfortunately, but things happen. So I'm glad you're back for another episode. Um, a lot of things happened. We want to talk a little bit about SHOT Show. I have a guest in studio, and I had something in mind that I wanted to cover today. It's not really somewhat related to the news, but nothing specific. If you've been on the channel before, you know that I always like to have a guest in studio um, who is either an immigrant or part of the immigrant community or some sort of a sub segment of the gum community. Lucky, Lucky is here too. Lucky, come here, say hi. So there he is. He's always in studio with me too. Um, all right. So I went to SHOT Show last month. It was my first SHOT Show. Um, I was a little bit overwhelmed. I was not ready for SHOT Show. Everybody told me it's going to be big. There's going to be a lot of people, and it's huge. And I looked at the stats, and 14 miles of aisles, and 830,000 square feet of floor space, and all that sort of stuff. I definitely could have planned that better, but I am also not really a gun guy. I'm not a gear guy. I'm not, you could put 5 Glocks in front of me, and from 3 feet away, I couldn't tell you the difference. Um, I see myself more as an educator and advocate. And so primarily, I went there for networking, to meet people, to make connections, to get to know other people in the community that I only know online so far. And one of the people I ran into was Yehuda Remer, or as you might know him, the PewPewJew. And that is the guest I have here with me today. Not with me, but we're zooming you in. Um, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm all right. I just noticed sometimes it looks like I'm looking up there. I find it very strange to talk into a camera when I have you on a big old screen over there. I kind of like to see who I'm talking to, and I find it unnatural to talk into a camera. So I apologize if I'm looking up in the corner.
It's all
Um,
good.
so first question: did you get sick after Shot Show?
I did. I did. This is the first time I've ever got the SHOT Show crud.
Oh, really?
Um, 8 years going, first time, and it wasn't too bad. It was a pretty nasty cold, but I've had worse. So
Okay, yeah, me too. But I was sick for 2 days, and then it was over. I know other people who were sick much longer and much worse. Um, and I've been warned about that. So I was talking to Gabby Franco a few weeks before SHOT Show, and she said, make sure you take your vitamins, have your hand sanitizer with you, do all that sort of stuff. And um, let's just say, hypothetically, let's just say maybe I listened to her, maybe not, but maybe. And of course, I came back sick. But it was a good experience. I had a good time there. I'm glad I went. If I can pull it off again, I'll go again next year. What was your biggest takeaway?
I mean, I was there with a different company this year. I started a new job this past year, so my goal was to take my new company around and introduce them to everyone within my network, trying to help the company. So um that's what I did. I made some new friends, met old friends. I got a few care packages. I got a new care package today, which I'm excited about. So just did my networking thing, and that's what I do.
Good. What's the new company?
So I work for a company. I'm the director of outreach for a company called Allegiance Project Foundation. It's a 501(c)(3) that puts veterans in schools as security officers.
Nice.
So
Wait, did you send me that on Instagram the other day about
I think I did.
oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I get so much stuff sent to me all the time. I forget who sends it to me. Yeah, that makes so much sense to have veterans there. They have the training, they have the experience, and
Yes.
honestly, a lot of them would probably do it for free.
Yeah, but we don't want them to do it for free. Their
No,
lives are worth a lot more than that. They need to
of
make a
course.
living coming out of the military. So, we pay above industry standard, and we work with a lot of veterans. And if you're a veteran that wants to work with us, but after the eval, you're not necessarily cut out for security work. We do work with a lot of other veteran organizations, so we can help other veterans who are transitioning out make those connections so that they have something worthwhile to do getting out of the military.
And where are you? What state are you in? Where are you located?
Texas.
Okay, I'm assuming in Texas that would be relatively easy. In California, for some reason, they don't want security at the school here. It
Yeah,
seems that
well,
way, anyways.
California sucks royally. I hate California with a passion, and I can say that because I lived there for 30 years in LA. Yeah, I try very hard to never have to go back to LA because I really hate it there.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's not my
good
favorite
times.
place either. But honestly, I'm getting there too. I'm starting to really have some problems with California. I moved here um, as a gun owner, but before I got into the gun community with like in seriousness. So I hadn't really done my homework when I came to California. I didn't know how it was going to be, and now I'm here, and yeah, I have a lot of problems with California.
Yeah,
Anyway, can't everybody be like Texas?
yeah, it's true story.
Um, although I guess we could, right? We could. It's not like this is all set in stone. We can change it.
Uh, yeah, people in California need to get a bit of a rebel heart, and then maybe you can change it.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a good segue into what I had talked to you about initially. What I kind of want to cover here a little bit, um, and that is like a philosophical issue. Maybe it's maybe not as much a legal issue as a philosophical issue. Um, California is really getting on my nerves lately. There's so many things that California is doing that's not even related to firearms, right? For example, we've had a thing here in San Diego. Have you been to San Diego?
Yeah, my aunt lives in Santee, so when I was in LA, we used to go to San Diego all the time.
Okay. Do you come here sometimes at least to visit?
I have not been in. Last time I was in California was about a year and a half ago. We were just in LA. We were there for a Jewish holiday. The last time I was in San Diego, God, it's been 12, 13, 14 years.
Okay.
12 years?
Well, if you do come back, let me know.
Okay.
Um, so back to where we were here. There's this big old park, Balboa Park. You might know it.
Of course.
And Balboa Park has traditionally had free parking since, I don't know, 1864, whenever the park came
Yeah.
about. Forever. Parking there has been always been free.
Yep.
San Diego is not great at managing its budget. So they decided, you know what? I think we're going to start charging for parking at Balboa Park. And I don't even know what they were charging, but guess what happened? Nobody
No
went to
one.
Balboa Park anymore because people don't want to
Yeah.
pay for the parking, and that's where the zoo is. There are 17 or 18 museums at the park. There are restaurants there and businesses. So they all complained that, hey, nobody's coming to the park anymore. We're losing all this money. And with that, of course, the city is losing tax revenue, right? If the business doesn't make any money that you can tax, then you don't get your taxes.
Right.
Um, so the city spent all this money to install these meters, and then nobody came. And people were complaining about it ahead of time, right? When the city announced the plan, everybody was up in arms. But they went ahead and did it anyways. So what happened? Nobody came. The businesses complained, and the parking meters were getting vandalized. Over $75,000 worth of damage in vandalism to the meters. The screens got smashed. They got construction foam sprayed into the credit card readers, and all sorts of stuff happened. Um, Now, on the one hand, that's a crime. I don't condone that. On the other hand, I guess it is a form of protest. And the city went back and said, okay, let's just say we're only going to charge in premium parking lots and the rest is going to be free again. They didn't say what premium meant and what that was, but it helped. It worked, right? So the city is now not charging for most of the parking anymore. And I'd like to say, on the one hand, well, the vandalism, whatever. But on the other hand, it worked. They got the city to finally listen to the people as they should have in the first place. Um, and that is a form of, I guess you could call it peaceful. Vandalism isn't technically violence, right? But that was a form of peaceful protest that worked, although on a small scale. And we could translate that into gun ownership, right? Whenever there is an infringement on gun rights, you have to find the right tool, the right means of protest, and hopefully, whichever authority you're talking to is going to listen. The point is, that's a good example for the fact that it can work, right? It can work. But you have to get enough people on your side for it to, be a big enough event or be persistent enough that it'll work. And we've always done a really bad job at doing that because gun owners are the law-abiding, right? We always compromise and we try to be reasonable, and then little by little it gets chipped away. But on a bigger scale, on a broader scale, what do you do if it's a statewide thing? What do you do about something like that if it's a countrywide thing, right? We see that with ICE right now. There's a lot of people protesting ICE, in whatever way that protest takes shape. Sometimes it's violent and then bad things happen. Sometimes it's vandalism. Sometimes it's blocking ICE vehicles or doing those kind of things. And I kind of want to get into that a little bit with you and talk about those kind of protests, I guess, or
Yeah.
remedies to government overreach and infringements and lawless behavior by the government, so to say.
I mean, I'm definitely for the spirit of 1776. So, I've come to a point in my life where if how do I say this without getting thrown in prison? No, I'm okay with the I'm okay with the vandalism at this point. If the government's not going to listen to the people and they're going to overreach and do dumb things like that, then the people need to start fighting back. It's that simple. The only way they'll listen, especially in places like California, where it's so liberal,
Mm-hmm.
the only way they'll listen is with extreme measures. And by extreme measures, I don't mean killing or hurting anyone, but if the government of San Diego wants to be so stupid and decide to charge people at a park that has been historically free parking, and then they decide one day to do it, fight back. Fight
Yeah.
back. You're not your votes don't matter anymore because clearly if they did matter, they would have listened to the people, but they don't listen to the people.
Yeah.
So you can say, "Oh, well, we just need to vote new people." And no, I'm sorry. I'm past the point of voting new people, and sometimes extreme measures need to be taken, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I mean, they could have. You talking about them being stupid? They are. That was really stupid. That was dumb. That was unintelligent. They could have seen that coming because there was a lot of pushback against that before they implemented it. And when you are touting democracy, right, all the time, people forget that America is not a democracy; it's a republic. But people touting democracy, well, then listen to the people. Why are you doing this against the will of the people because you can't manage your damn budget? You know?
I don't think it's a matter of managing the budget. I think they just don't care.
And that on top of that, of course not.
Whether they can manage their budget or not doesn't make a difference. I just think they don't care. To them, it's all about the money. Even if they have a surplus in their budget, they're still going to do things stupid. I mean, even in Texas, we have dumb things that the state government does, and people are up in arms about it. But I think at the end of the day, it's they don't they don't care what the people have to say. Whether they just don't. The only thing that speaks is money,
Yeah.
and if you take away their money, right? What, like you said, if they mismanage their budget and money's not flowing, they're going to think of a way to do it. But if that way to do it affects the people of the city, then I hope the people of the city fight back. Do whatever
And
you need to do. I mean, it's ridiculous.
and that is the thing that did actually work. For one, they lost the tax revenue because nobody was going to the park and attending the museums, going to the zoo, or eating at the restaurants. And the other thing was that the vandalism got out of hand, and they constantly had to repair the parking meters. So they spent money on the meters that then didn't return the revenue because nobody was going to the park. So, you know, I'm not sure if the vandalism by itself would have done anything, right? But the loss of the revenue, the people just boycotted the park basically, and that's the thing that worked.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, boycotting is a fantastic way to cause change, to enact change. Um, Hopefully, we know how to do it better than the left, because every time the left tries to boycott a conservative business,
they
that
torch it.
conservative business, yeah, that the revenue that company makes goes through the roof. So I hope the liberals keep on boycotting conservative businesses, because it's only nothing bad happens to that business except they make more money and get more publicity.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. But yeah, I think the spirit of 1776 is still alive, and I think we need to embrace it.
So one thing that I was contemplating leading up to this interview and talking to you, and that's I guess how I chose to invite you for this particular episode. Um, for one, I thought it was hilarious that the German with a gun is having a conversation with the Pew Pew Jew. um, Especially, considering this topic and Germany's history and I guess Jewish hate happens in America too, although not to the extent that we had that happen in the 30s and 40s. Um, but I was thinking, I had done a segment on this Don Lemon video after the shooting of Renee Good in Minnesota. Um, and that sort of stuff is still on the news. You see, on the one hand, I am all for lawful immigration, right? If you're here illegally and you get caught, well, you knew that you were here illegally. You got to get sent back. On the other hand, the way that ICE is enforcing that sometimes I'm not a fan of. I'm sure a lot of times it's in line with the law, but on the news, obviously, you have the cases that are outrageous, that are clickbait, that are get views, that sell well. So that's the cases that we see a lot of, and that's the stuff that gets the conversation going. Um, but let's use that as an example, right? Let's say um, we use immigration enforcement as the example of government overreach of a tyrannical government, where they, whether it's true or not, but let's say they're busting down doors without warrants, without verifying who lives there, and just sweeping up people who look brown and who look like immigrants who get detained. Um, and I'm sure that's not the majority of cases, but those are the ones that we see on the news and hear about. At what point do we pick up the pitchforks, right? Where do we draw the line? And can we all agree to draw the line at the same place? Probably not, right? So I'm not one of those people I'm an immigrant, but I'm not one of those people that's an illegal immigrant. I'm a citizen and I don't have to worry about ICE. So it's not my primary cause, right? So I wouldn't draw the line anywhere close to that. I draw my line with freedom of speech, with gun control, right? That's where I draw my line. So at what point do you have enough people on the other side of their respective lines, right? Where do you have critical mass of the people that are willing to pick up pitchforks, figuratively, of course? And I was thinking about that, and I couldn't really come up with an answer. You know, and the other thing is, while you're going through this, um, do you think you would be able to identify exactly the straw that is going to break the camel's back before it happens? Or, do we have to rely on hindsight? If we're looking back at the Soviet Union, at Mao China, at Nazi Germany, at Cambodia, at Vietnam, it's easy to analyze that back in hindsight. But while you're in it, right? If people were to ask me, well, would you have hidden Anne Frank? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure. I want to say yes, but that would be virtue signaling. I can't give you an answer. So, that's a difficult question, and I couldn't really answer that. What's your take on that?
I am 100% pro illegal or pro ICE. What they're doing, um, I'm okay with what they're doing. Now, obviously, the way I see it is illegal immigration in California, not in California, in America now is a war. And it is a war that is being fought by the federal government. As much as I do not like the federal government, illegal immigration is illegal immigration. I'm okay with what they're doing. Now, that doesn't mean that everything they do is correct or the right thing. I think in the Renee Good case, don't slam on the gas and you won't get shot. You know, hate to be that callous, but that's just the way it is. You play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes.
Right.
Um, I am okay with it. Now, in terms of where the line is drawn, that's a tough question just because I think the people of America for so long have seen so many people from young women to young men to older men as well as older women too get gunned down, get raped, get killed, get murdered by illegal immigrants. So where is that line, right? At what
Mm-hmm.
point are we going to say, well, where enough is enough? Well, I think we're at the point. I think we're at the point where we're saying too many American citizens are being killed by illegal immigrants. So you know what? Round them all up and get them the hell out. It's that simple, and I'm okay with that. If that means you get some bad eggs in the mix, well, look, if the Renee Good shooting wasn't a good shooting, then yes, that cop should be you know thrown in prison, put on trial. I'm all for that. But if someone is doing something stupid to prevent ICE, you want to protest all you want. I don't care. It's your right. But that doesn't mean you interfere with law enforcement's job. And the minute you interfere with law enforcement's job, you yourself, whether you're illegal or not, are breaking the law.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, again, it's a tough question to answer where that line is drawn. But I truly believe that you can't look at it as well. At what point is the line gonna be drawn where people are gonna stand up and say enough is enough with ICE? I don't think you can look at it that way. I think you have to look at it. What caused ICE to start doing all this? Where
Mm-hmm.
was the line? Where was the line when all these women were being raped and murdered by illegal immigrants?
Yeah.
Where was the
It's
line?
it's even worse in Europe, honestly. But Europe doesn't have ice, so
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's much worse in Europe, especially places like Norway and Sweden. You hear horror stories,
yeah.
but at the end of the day, when the line when the line is sorry, my son's in the room.
I can hear.
Psst, animal, close the door.
Kids be kids.
Um, kids be
Th-
kids. No,
That's
he's
why that's
he's
why I go
he's
to the
doing
studio here. I just have
yeah
to deal
he's
with my
he's doing
dog.
his chores, so he's just throwing out the garbages.
Yeah.
Um, But no, it's again, I would rather live in a country where ICE is doing what they're doing and occasionally make a bad judgment call than having illegal immigrants running rampart and raping women and murdering people,
Yeah,
right?
there's
And that's and to tie that into the gun world, right? I would much rather live in a country where gun rights are bestowed to everyone. And even if there's a neo-Nazi who lives across the street to me, he still has his rights, right? He has freedom of speech, he has Second Amendment, and I'm okay with that. Now,
because you do
that's
too.
because I do too. And I
Exactly.
would much rather live in a society where we all have that kind of freedom than a society where people are being murdered and raped,
Yeah.
and then there's no line.
Yeah, I think it makes a big difference if you have if the issue that the government is trying to correct, so to say, is um, an issue of crime, let's say, with illegal immigration, with murder, with rape, with deportation being the solution. Deportation being the solution, and a strong border being the preventative, versus a government that gets out of hand, so to say. I mean, and out of hand is a strong word because ICE is enforcing laws that have been on the books for a long time. ICE came into being after 9/11, right? I think with the Patriot Act, maybe with Homeland Security. We didn't have ICE before 9/11.
We did
Um,
it.
no, I think ICE came about with. I mean, fact check me. I'm pretty sure I read that
Oh, it's
somewhere.
not a matter of. Um, I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, I think ICE came after 9/11 as part of Homeland Security. Homeland Security didn't exist until 9/11. TSA didn't exist until 9/11.
Wow, yeah, I didn't know that. I thought ICE was around, yeah, March 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, you learn something new every day.
Yeah. So I lost my train of thought now. Let's say the enforcement, right, is very aggressive, and in order to enforce the law, the government kind of goes out of bounds a little bit, right, outside of the Constitution. Um, Now, if you're affected by the deportation, of course, you're going to make that a big deal. If you're not affected by the deportation, then you can afford to ignore it, right? But what if
Well,
that spreads into other areas, right? What
right. So
if
no, I
it's a virus? It'll spread when the government finds out they can get away with something. They'll try to get away with more.
100%, and I think that they need to work within the guidelines, within the bounds of the U.S. Constitution, and if they do go outside those lines, that's an issue because, like you said, it's a snowball effect. It'll lead to
Right.
other things.
And
However, I don't think as of now. And keep in mind, right? Illegal immigrants do not have the rights that U.S. citizens have. So
correct.
any illegal immigrant that starts saying, "Well, you're going outside the Constitution," what's it make a difference to you? You're not a citizen, so I don't care.
Well, I mean, illegal immigrants do have some constitutional protections that we have too, like freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Some of those, not all of those. Second Amendment, as of right now, doesn't apply to illegal aliens.
Right.
The right to vote doesn't apply. But deportations is not a criminal proceeding, right? Deportation is a civil matter. So due process with deportation is very different from due process in criminal proceedings. So whether you agree with it or not, I guess a lot of Fourth and Fifth Amendment protections don't apply to deportation proceedings. I don't know all the details there, but they don't have the same protections as citizens do. Um, lost my train of thought again here with it's my thought, my brain is racing. My thoughts are all over the place because there's so many things that are related to that. Um, so the, the the scale, I guess, is lacking for this to be a systemic problem, right? If citizens get swept up in this, if people get arrested or detained that are not supposed to, that's usually a case of mistaken identity or some sort of an administrative error. As far as I know, there aren't any lawsuits yet. I'm always, every time I'm driving through town, I'm always waiting to get pulled over for some bullshit and get my rights violated. And I'm always like, I see these videos on YouTube all the time where you have auditors, right? Police departments get audited on First Amendment audits and stuff like that. Traffic stops are popular. And then a lawsuit comes out of that, some civil rights violation. The police department gets sued for $100,000. As far as I know, I haven't heard of any lawsuits regarding that affecting ICE or Homeland Security or the Border Patrol, but they take a long time. So eventually, we'll probably see a lawsuit or two or three where a citizen sues ICE or the federal government because they got arrested and put in a detention facility because somebody thought they looked brown enough that they could be an immigrant. But that's not a systemic problem.
Right.
So there are other areas where I think it's much more systemic when you have entire jurisdictions where it's illegal to harvest your own rainwater from your own roof. I think that's a systemic problem. I think that's outrageous. Or when you have somebody sent me an article where a property owner parked on her own lawn in her own house, and apparently there's a city ordinance against that, and so she was fined hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even after she corrected it, nobody came to inspect, and they kept fining her every day for hundreds of thousands of dollars until the fines were worth more than her house. I think that's a systemic problem. That's something that we shouldn't have, and we should make a stink about it.
Well, I don't know if that's a systemic problem or that's just moronic government overreach.
Well, I mean, but what is the government is the system, right? That's what I
Oh, I
mean.
hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Oh yeah, okay. I hear that.
And this is affecting entire jurisdictions. This is not, a bad cop making a bad call. This is a law or an ordinance that's on the books. So then it
Right.
becomes systemic. Um, yeah, and once you have that in place, that is really, really difficult to get rid of, right? And then you need enough people, you need critical mass, you need enough people that make a stink about it. And that, I'm not saying everybody should build a killdozer, but what's the remedy? Where do you go? I'd love to have a killdozer just in case, but I can't afford to do that. you know?
Yeah, I don't know what the remedy is. I mean, again, the remedy will everyone will tell you the remedy is well, vote the bad ones out. The
Yeah,
problem is even the ones who we think are good always end up being bad.
yeah.
There's
And
no
before the election
there's
and after
no
the election.
right. The only politician that will tell you that I really like, someone that I think has been pretty spot on so far, is John Kennedy.
Okay.
He is awesome. He is the only politician that I truly think is a really good guy, even though I've never met him. But I also think he's one of the funniest people I've ever heard in my life. But John Kennedy is great. Aside from that, most politicians are just they go in with good intentions, but get corrupted by the system. And even if that corruption is as small as, we're going to vote against the people in a small way. I mean, you're a bad politician
Yeah.
if you're doing that. And then again, there's no such thing as a good politician. There really isn't.
Right.
So,
I always wondered, but you're supposed to represent your constituents, right? And so, in my opinion, the politician, every Congress member has to represent their district. and do the bidding of the people in his district. And what they say, he or she has to vote the way that the constituents in the district tell him to vote. Unless, there's, you could say something about people being stupid and not smart enough to, vote properly and whatnot. Um, unless the people want something that is unconstitutional, right? The congressman, the senator, whoever has to vote the way their constituents want them to vote, and
Right.
not what they want, not what they themselves want. They represent the people, and far too few people do that. I'm not sure if anybody does it, honestly.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
Um, I have some conversations here and there with people who are economically on a different philosophical spectrum than I am. And, the argument is sometimes, well, places like China, where you have the Communist Party that's been in place, I don't know since when, 1940 something, second half of the 40s, probably. I don't remember when the Chinese Civil War happened, when Mao got in. They have the ability to think in terms of generations, whereas we always have to think in terms of 4-year election cycles, right? So China has grown tremendously, and for a communist country, they're actually really good at capitalism, um, because they can make those kind of plans long term. Whereas in America, everybody always thinks just until the next election. But when it comes to, I don't want to use the word revolution or anything, but government change. Um, well, our government has the benefit of only having to last until the next election, right? So if you look at East Germany, for example, that's the only example of a peaceful revolution that I can think of. America had a violent revolution, France had a violent revolution, and then you have other countries that, the October Revolution in Russia, that was all violent. But um, regime change in East Germany came about peaceful. And that only happened, so they've been in power for 40 years. And they would have stayed in power for another 40 years or longer if they could have done whatever they wanted. But towards the end, dissatisfaction had got so extreme every single Monday. Hundreds of thousands of people went into the streets and protested and demonstrated. And they put so much pressure on the government that in the end, they faltered. And that's a threat that those kind of regimes have, right? They have to face it because there's only one option. There's only them, and they have to hold on to power. Whereas over here, every 4 years, basically, you have a regime change, 4 to 8 years, right? So our government, whatever they're doing, they only have to hold over until the next election. And then somebody else comes into power, and then there's a reset. So let's say we're mad at the Democrats, right? We only have to wait till the next election, and hopefully then the Republicans get into power, and then we don't have to be mad anymore. We can chill, we can relax again. And vice versa. The Democrats are mad at the Republicans when they're in power, and then 4 to 8 years later, it flips, and then there's a reset. We're not angry for long enough, right? So that's what keeps our system in place. It makes it really difficult to get any type of change like that,
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. I don't know. I just want to be left alone. I just want the government to leave me alone, let me do my own thing. I'm not a criminal. I don't have any criminal background. I'm a good person. I just
Yeah.
want to be left alone. That's it.
And yeah, that's why I think I get worked up so much when every time I hear a Second Amendment infringement or new gun control laws or taxation or storage requirements or limits on this, limits on that, whatever. The only reason that happens is to limit our ability to oppose the government, and they know that, and that's why they do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is why it's all about control.
Yeah,
Everything they do in terms of gun rights is about control. The less gun rights we have, the more control they have over us.
that's right. And I mean, East Germany is a good example of a peaceful revolution, but it's the only example. That's not the norm. That's not usually how you bring about change, you know? Unfortunately, the pitchforks are more effective usually,
Yeah.
as history will have it. How long has your family been in the States? Do you know? Do you have any records to trace it back?
Yeah, we have been in the States since 1946. My
Okay.
family all survived the Holocaust. Both sides of my mom's side and my dad's side, they both survived the Holocaust, and they got here 19 I mean 1946 and around that time.
Coming from where?
Poland, mainly Poland. My grandmother was from Hungary, but the rest of my grandparents were Polish.
You got any family lore? Any anecdotes about that time?
I mean, yeah, I mean, my family history in the Holocaust is crazy. I mean that's a whole show in itself. Uh, my grandmother was made her way to Shanghai, lived in
Oh,
Shanghai. I think for like 8 years. Um, though there's one, the very famous story everyone knows is a guy named Sempo Sugihara who was stamping passports for Jews to get out of Germany. He was a Chinese consulate, and he was stamping passports. There's another guy who did the same thing who is not as well known as Sempo Sugihara, but my grandmother and her family was saved by the other guy.
hmm.
So they went to China for a bunch of years. My grandfather, so wait, that was my grandmother. Her husband, my grandpa, he was in 11 different concentration camps. He had numbers tattooed on his arm. He was pulling gold teeth out of dead bodies at age 14. Um, and he survived. His story of survival was crazy. Then my father's father was hid by farmers in a ditch for 19 months,
Tuh.
in a little ditch in a barn under a gigantic pile of hay. And he was able to come out for 1 hour every night. That's it. So um, he survived. And then his wife was from Hungary. And truth of the matter is, we didn't have a lot to do with my grandmother growing up, so I don't really know her story of survival.
Hmm. Was Hungary ever occupied? I don't
Yeah,
even know. Hungary was
yeah.
occupied?
And Hungarians were,
Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm thinking Romania. No. Hungary is right there next to Czech Republic and Austria. Yeah, they would have been in there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and Hungarians were really brutal to Jews. I mean, they were really bad.
Hmm.
Um, that Hungarians, Ukrainians, Polish were up there, but not as bad as the Ukrainians and the Hungarians.
I didn't even know
In
that.
terms of, yeah. So, yeah, we have a very rich history. My background is very rich in Holocaust lore, and that's a, like I said, that's an entire podcast on its own.
Well, maybe we should do
But
that one. I got some family lore of from my side of the family, although um, as far as I know, nothing horrendous. No, you know, no stories like Schindler's List type of stories or anything.
right,
Um, but there's a couple of stories. I should, you know what? I should reach out to the Red Cross. One of my relatives, my grandma's sister, was a Red Cross nurse. She was she never spoke about the war. She was somewhere in the east. is all we know. Nobody knows anything, but I wonder if the Red Cross has some sort of a resource there. Um, I never really bothered to check that. Maybe I should do that. Um, let's see where we're at. Anyway, so what's next? Any exciting gun related things coming up? Any
Y-
activism opportunities? Any books coming out? Anything like that?
Yeah, there's a lot coming up. This year is going to be a fantastic year. I have a new book coming out in about a month. Um, I can't say what it is yet
Okay. Does
because
it
we're
have a lot of
still
empty pages?
no. This one actually has more words than bullet points and probably 200 pages less.
Okay.
But it has words in this one. It's another kid's book. I'm really proud of this one. It looks really good. It's a fun read. So that's coming out in about a month, maybe 6 weeks, give or take. And then yeah, I mean, I have oh man, I don't even know. March seems to be slow, but April I have the NRA show in Houston, which is a couple hours for me. I got that. May I'm traveling back and forth to. I was just talking with my wife. I might be going to Utah from Dallas to Utah to Los Angeles to Miami, all in the span of a week and a half.
Oh wow.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then yeah, GRPC's in my hometown this year. It's in Dallas, so I'm excited for that. I can get be part of that.
Yeah, I will be
Um,
at GRPC. Hopefully, I'm really trying to make it. I'm not going to be able to go to the NRA show. That's a little much for me. It's I'd love to go to all of these things, but it's a budget concern. I can't always
oh,
just
it's
you know
always a budget concern. Yeah,
not go to work for a week.
yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely.
but I've been to GRPC every year since it was in Phoenix. So last year that was my third. Wait, Phoenix, San Diego, Salt Lake City, and next year or this year in Dallas.
Yeah,
Wait, yeah, Dallas. So yeah, I'm trying to go there. So far, the only time I've been in Texas was a layover in Houston. I do count that,
yeah.
but
Nah. Houston sucks. We don't like Houston.
I mean, I do count that as having been to Texas. So
That's fair. I mean, technically, you're not wrong. So,
yeah,
but no, I have a lot of stuff. Then I have goals in August, which I'm really excited about. Um, I was just talking to the people at GOA today, and hopefully get to do a really um, cool thing at goals this year. So I have that in August. September is GRPC. October should be quiet. November should be somewhat quiet. And then you got to do your whole mental preparations for SHOT Show. So
yeah,
it's going to be a busy year, and I'm looking forward to it.
yeah. My year is not that busy. I can't afford to just cruise around like that everywhere.
Well,
Um,
I'm spoiled because in a lot of these cases I'm being flown out to
oh,
different
nice.
events. Yeah, I've built that networking and that reputation enough that people want me there. So like, hey, we'll fly you out and put you up in a hotel.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm okay with that. I'm definitely gonna live
Are you?
I, I'm gonna live the bougie lifestyle until they stop deciding to fly me out. But
Yeah.
until that happens, I'm gonna live it up and enjoy every moment of it.
I do actually have an offer like that as well, but that's for the NRA show next year. So yeah, until that happens and it's set in stone, I don't want to say who it is and who offered what.
Right.
But somebody I met at or somebody I already knew and we met at Shot Show again said, "Hey, are you coming?" And it's like, I don't know. It all depends. And so they said, "Well, what if we help you get over there and you could stay with us and we'll cover the flight for you and whatnot. So hopefully that happens because I really want to go to the NRA show because otherwise I have to pick and choose. It'll be SHOT Show again next year. I really want to make that happen. It'll be GRPC. And then can we talk about Gun Prom yet? Is that out? Can we say that something about Gun Prom? I'm not sure if
I
that's
would
been if that's been so we have San Diego County gun owners. There used to be a thing called Gun Prom.
Gun Prom. Yep, I
Um,
remember.
but
Rich invited me to it a few times, but I believe it's always on a Friday night, so it's my Sabbath, so I
oh
can't.
yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. It is what it is, but
Yeah, we haven't had Gun
um,
Prom for the last 2 years, but well, I don't know if it's been said yet, so let me not say anything wrong. That used because Gun Prom, that was my favorite event of the year. That's how I got into San Diego County gun owners, probably sentimental. That's why, So I measure time from Gun Prom to Gun Prom.
right.
Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of exciting opportunities, and if Gun Prom is a thing, then I'm gonna need a date. So if you're watching this, you want to go to Gun Prom, hit me up. Doesn't have to be a female. Um, Anybody who wants to get in the community, and just let me know, what your story is and whatnot. If anybody hits me up about Gun Prom, and I have several people that want to go, then I'll have to make a judgment call and pick the person that I think would benefit the most from it. And so yeah, um, if I think I might see you at GRPC then, huh? In when is that? September.
Yeah, I'll be at AmCon because I'm on the AmCon planning committee, so I'll definitely be at AmCon.
I will be at AmCon.
Um, so GRPC, I won't be there Saturday, but I'll probably stop in Sunday.
Okay.
Um, but we'll
Forgive
we'll
my
see.
forgive my ignorance about the Sabbath. It's nothing that I really have to worry about. I kind of know what it is, obviously. Um, but I don't really know what you can and cannot do. I remember I used to work in hospitality, and when we had Jewish guests, sometimes on a Friday, Saturday, um, they needed extra assistance with things like turning on and off the lights, or
Yeah.
walk the stairs instead of taking the elevator, and needed bellboys because they couldn't take their suitcases, whatnot. Um, what? So if you wanted to go to GRPC, could you sit in the conference room and listen to
So
stuff, or?
technically, yes. Technically, if I would stay at the hotel, I technically can do that. The issue that I want to try to avoid, and this might come off as egotistical, and I don't mean to be egotistical, but I've come to a point where a lot of times people are like, "Oh, can we take a picture with you? Can we take a picture with you?"
Mm,
And that I can't do. So although technically I can go to the hotel and just sit down and do nothing all day but listen to speeches because I'm not breaking the Sabbath, I don't want to be that rude person saying, "No, sorry, no pictures today." Even though I think most people would understand, but I still just don't.
yeah.
It's just easier. It's just easier to avoid it. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there's definitely ways to get around it. I know when I go to like same thing when I go to goals. This year it's in Des Moines, Iowa, and uh, I lock myself in the hotel room for 25 hours. I don't walk the floor, even though technically I'm not breaking the Sabbath. I'm not going to walk the floor, and
Hmm.
um, for that exact reason, I don't. It's very hard. I don't want to stop and tell people, sorry, I can't take a picture with you, or I can't autograph a book, or I can't do that. It just I find it I find it rude to do that, even though it is
Hmm.
my religion. I just don't want to put myself in that position. I don't want to put someone else in the position of them feeling awkward and feeling bad that they asked me to do that on the Sabbath. So I just found it easier to just avoid going to
Yeah.
these events. And it's like I tell everyone, if I'm going to be successful, it will happen on a Sunday or a Friday. It's not going to happen on Saturday. So it's just easier to miss it.
Um, all right. Well, that's I'm a heathen in from your point of view, so I don't know anything about that. Um, but yeah, I would have not known that you can't take photos. I guess signing a book, if you think about it, I guess that makes sense. But then again, I would have never thought about that. So
So taking the photos, let's put it this way. If you would come up to me on the set on Saturday and say, "Hey, can we take a photo together?" and I posed for a photo, I'm technically not breaking the Sabbath, but it's just not in the spirit of the Sabbath.
I see.
So, you just you try to avoid things that will cause you to possibly break the Sabbath. So even though again, even though technically I'm not breaking the Sabbath, you avoid things that might bring you to, um, someone stops me all of a sudden and you and I are talking at a event and someone stops and says, "Oh, hey, can you quickly sign my book?" And me not even paying attention, grab the pen and sign the book. Well, I just broke the Sabbath.
Yeah,
And it's just easier to avoid all that.
sure. Well, you know what? Next time we get together, whenever that is, let's talk a little bit about your family history. That
Yeah,
sounds like I
absolutely.
didn't realize that was so much going on. I mean, if you're a good storyteller, you can make anything into an interesting story. But I didn't realize there was that much, history and storytelling involved. And if um, I guess I don't know, we're probably around the same age. My grandparents were, for the most part, born in the 20s. They were relatively young. My grandpa served in the Navy. My other grandpa had polio, so he didn't serve. Um, and so on my family side, there was not that much involvement in anything because they were relatively young. My grandmother was in the BDM, the or the in English, what would that be? The Federation of German Girls or whatever, the female equivalent to the Hitler Youth.
Okay.
Um, but I'm not sure if she signed up for it voluntarily or because she had to go. I don't
Right.
know that, but they were young after middle school age. I guess everybody's in it, so that's really all I got. I got like two or three anecdotes, and that's all I got from my family. But it sounds like you have a lot going on there. By the way, did um, any of that have anything to do with you getting into the Second Amendment? Is there like a family tradition for you guys, or is that a personal choice that you made at some point?
So it's more of a personal choice that I made at some point. My grandfather, who had tattoos on his arm from Auschwitz, he had a B7937 tattooed on his arm. And growing up, he used to give us like swing rides on his hand. And I always saw the tattoo, but it never registered. I was young, it never registered what that tattoo was until I got older and I started learning about the Holocaust. And once I started learning about the Second Amendment, I was kind of a spoiled Los Angeles boy. So um, I didn't care for politics. I didn't know what the Second Amendment was. But when I finally started figuring out what it is and what the actual reasoning why we have the Second Amendment, the tattoo that changed my life was my grandfather because it started prompting me to defend the Second Amendment against tyranny, which is what would have happened if the Jews didn't give up their guns from the Nuremberg laws. So definitely the tattoo had a integral part on my psyche of joining the Second Amendment movement.
Hmm. You got any tattoos?
I do not.
Me neither.
Tattoos
I don't
tattoos are
want to be
frowned
that
upon in
recognizable,
Judaism.
if I ever get swept up in anything.
Yeah, no, tattoos are a no-go in Judaism. You're not allowed to get tattoos.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Something else I learned.
Yeah.
All right, let's see where we're at. Um, let's wrap it up here, and maybe we can get together again before GRPC. If not, maybe at GRPC. I'll have to bring my camera and my microphones and whatnot. hopefully I have some time there to record a little bit. Now that I've been a few times, I kind of know what to expect and see when I have time for what. Because the first GRPC I went to, I sat in the conference room and listened to every single speaker the entire time. I found out that not all of those things affect me, and while it's interesting, I don't need to listen to each and every single speaker every day.
Yep.
So, eventually I'll get there with SHOT Show, that I know where to go and what to do, and bring my hand sanitizer and get my vitamins next time. So let's wrap it up. Where can people find you?
If you want to find me, you can find me on my website, thepewpewjew.com, or across social media at thepewpewjew.
All right, and your book is coming out when?
My book is I'm hoping for an April 1st release.
Okay. Well, maybe one day I'll write one. We'll see. Maybe not, but if I do, then I know who to go to.
Fair enough. I'll help you.
All right. Lucky, come here. Come here. Say bye. Up here. So that's it from Lucky and me. Thank you. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in to The Immigrant Gun Owner. My name is Matthias. I'm the German with a gun.